Hi guys, it's me Vincent. I'm back with a new video, and today I'm so excited because this video is actually made for you guys. If you're very passionate about luxury culture, and if you're studying luxury brand management in a big city or anywhere in the world and you want to get acquainted with this culture, please subscribe to my channel and to my Instagram page, and I'll be very happy to answer to all your questions if you need any feedback from someone's experience. Okay guys, so today I am actually making this video for you because it was a reaction to the last video that I did on how to study luxury brand management in Paris, and there was so many good responses and so many comments, and I want to thank you first so much for the support that you guys show, the response that you guys showed me on this video. This video is actually my most seen video so far on my channel, but also like to see so many students and so many young people from all around the world asking me questions, being so like preoccupied with this field and this thing, you know, study luxury brand management in the city. It seems like you guys have so many questions and you're so disoriented about what to do, and you don't really know where to go to search for the information, and I feel like it's such a pity that you don't have access to that kind of education in some countries. So I was very happy to really like bring light on that subject, and it really triggered some interest for me to really develop my channel on this subject and to really talk about what I love the most. First of all, I would say that you have to value your references. As I told you in the previous video, how to study luxury brand management in Paris, you have to come with a background. You have to know a little bit about culture, literature, the humanities, because luxury as a whole is actually, you know, the junction of all these things. It's the junction of art with contemporaneity, modernity, avant-garde, and so many other movements. So I do believe that people who want to work in the luxury industry, you need to have some references. I'm not saying that you should have the same references as everyone else, but just have your own references and have your identity, have your personality, and just do not be afraid to showcase it. There are many rarities in this industry. So many people who are passionate, people who have a real expertise, but also how luxury reads society. So these are very interesting things to keep in mind. And so personally, as you may know, I have a background in literature, in philosophy, in history, so all the humanities. So these are references that I do have and that I do carry with me wherever I go. So you get also to travel, of course. You need to experience as much as you can luxury through traveling. If you look at my last video on my vlog, travel vlog, I went to Roma. I took a chance to visit the Fendi private atelier because that's my favorite brand, and I am so obsessed with Italian couture and Italian brands. So I took advantage of this trip to really, you know, dive into the history, past, and in the archives. I saw some archives that were designed by Karl Lagerfeld himself. So that was a very that was the ultimate experience. If you can have those kind of ultimate experiences while traveling, I think that's the best. And of course, you get references when you have conversations with people. For example, when you live in a big city such as Paris, London, Milano, Roma, New York, you get to go to circles and like, you know, cocktails, parties, and networking afterward cocktails, and you just get to know these people, just at least to talk with them. And as I told you, these are people who are so passionate. They're passionate, and you can hear it. The minute they start talking, you know exactly whether a person is a real passionate, a real expert in his field or not. It's coming out of them, and they communicate their passion, and they teach you so many things that you learn and you want to remember for your career or for, you know, the next steps in your life. Of course, another point would be to follow and unfollow the trends. Why unfollow the trends? Because I do believe that Trends do appear like a cycle, and I think if you want to work in the luxury industry, you have to be able to, first of all, follow the trends. But when I say follow the trends, it means interest yourself, you know, just be aware of what's going on and always be curious. That's very important, that's very key. And unfollow the trends because you have to be able to detach yourself from something, you know. A luxury brand is always looking forward, always fashion forward, always looking for innovations and the next level. Top-notch innovation. It can be in watches and jewelry, it can be in perfume, it can be in sustainable materials that you develop for a collection. Whatever it might be, you have to be in advance of your time. And that's something that I mean by unfollow trends, which means don't get too comfortable in your comfort zone. So of course you have to keep up with the news, you have to keep up with the nominations. As you may know, there's so many artistic directors that are, you know, announced every 3 years. They're just fluctuating so much, so you need to keep up with, you know, the new ones. The last one that was announced was that guy for Givenchy. It's interesting to keep up with that because it tells you and it foreshadows already where the brand is going and what the brand want to tell for the next 3 years, for this kind of new era, for this renewal of creativity. Of course, you can also read the vertical press to have a little bit of business knowledge and to know where the industry is actually, you know, going in terms of business, especially in the post-pandemic context. So I would advise you to read, if you speak French, of course. If you speak French, you can read Journal du Luxe, Luxe Magazine, Vogue Business, Le Point Luxe. I love Le Point because they have a section for luxury watches and jewelry, and it's a very expert, it's very expert. I love it. It's very clear, it's neat, and it's just really straight to the point. Exactly what we like. You can read Luxus Plus, you can read Buff, The Business of Fashion, which is amazing for conferences and webinars. Stratégie for France, and of course you can also read some top tier business press such as Le Figaro, Le Monde. Sometimes they do talk a little bit about luxury. You just need to dig a little and just to make sure that it's there, you know? Of course, you can also follow luxury brands and fashion brands on corporate social media, such as LinkedIn, where they do communicate on the corporate, you know, level. And it's very interesting because you get to see also how those brands manage, first of all, the management of those brands, how they treat the employees, what are the internal strategies for environmental and sustainable standards. So, you know, all these things, if you are, of course, if you are engaged and committed on those things, these are things that you should be able to know and that you should be aware. Because, for example, for someone who defends, you know, the protection of the planet and, you know, how to really make sure that we don't sabotage nature. When I work in the luxury industry, you first need to know that this industry is one of the worst in terms of wasting. But if you're sensitive to that cause, maybe you should do some research and see what are the brands that really try to minimize the impact they do have on the environment. The first group that comes to my mind is Kering. You should just try to find, you know, the brands that speak the most to yourself. Of course, I think it's very key, especially when you live in a big city such as Paris, London, Milano, and New York. It's very key to follow up with and to keep up with the fashion weeks. Because to me, fashion weeks is like, it's a kind of pause. I know, it's kind of erratic to say that because it's quite hectic and it's very, you know, busy. I like fashion weeks because to me, it's like a pause where I can just, okay, let's sit down and see what they prepared for the next season, you know? Every year I'm excited to see how a brand is going to read our times. The fashion weeks, they really gives you an insight at the trends, of course, so it can be materials, colors, textures, textiles, architecture, inspiration, culture, you know, all these things blended together. It also tells you a lot about the artistic choices and the artistic direction that's been held. For example, if we look at the last fall-winter Louis Vuitton show, I loved it because, of course, I could not wear it because it's... But what I like the most about it is that they really stick to their ideals. And Nicolas Ghesquière, he has parti pris, what we call in French parti pris, which is he's biased, and he really has a clear vision on, you know, Louis Vuitton being a French brand, being, you know, intertwined in this French heritage. And this is what he did with the last collection. It was a sort of tribute to the monarchy of France, but from a very artistic perspective. Very interesting actually. And I would advise you guys to watch this show because it really tells you how a brand can just read its DNA and share its DNA, being, you know, belonging to a very strong patrimony, which is the French culture, the French history, but still at the same time detach itself from its past to attain a very modern touch. Another thing that I like to see on fashion shows is, you know, the messaging, because sometimes, you know, you have this kind of staging. Staging speaks for itself. You know, you need to understand what are the messaging, what are the signals that the brand wants to evoke to the audience when people come see the fashion show, you know? First of all, of course, a fashion show is a communication tool. It's here to say, hey, we're here and we're selling clothes. But it's also on, you know, underlying level, you have the messaging of the brand. And if you pay attention to details and to the choreography and to the atmosphere, to the ambiance of the show, you really can depict like the messaging and what's the message behind it, whether the brand is fighting for diversity and inclusion or not. So I wouldn't say that fashion on this level can be political, but it has a political underlying level. It does. For example, if you look at a show where you do have transgender models, where you do have senior models, this is a message of inclusion. This is a message of, we don't want your standards no more. We do not stand by that. We are doing something we believe in. To be honest with you, to me, the last show that really did it and really did a fantastic job, it was Valentino by Pierpaolo Piccioli. And it was a couture show in Paris. And, you know, it was so emotional because Pierpaolo really wanted to pay tribute to women, but to all women. So he decided to showcase women from all around the world, beautiful skin tones. So it was a rainbow of women. It was diverse cast, dark skin, light skin, Asian, Indian, everyone in sublime couture gowns. And the messaging behind that is, we know that couture has always been presented with, you know, Caucasian girls. In the past, in the collective mind, we believe that people who buy couture are these kind of princesses or, you know, this kind of aristocrats who might be Caucasian, I don't know. And just putting those girls in those clothes, in those creations, because to me, when we speak couture, we don't talk about the gown, we don't talk about the dress, we talk about the creation because it's unique and it's made to measure. And when you see those girls walking in those creations, you see the message, which is, we want to sublime those women, we want to give them back their aristocracy. Because these women from all these different regions of the world has been denied that they had that excellence. So I really like this show. Naomi Campbell was crying and she explains it much better than me in her videos. Another very key point, especially if you live in a big city where fashion brands might exhibit their archives or whatever. Here in Paris, we're very lucky because we have so many exhibitions. Well, not now because of coronavirus, but we used to have amazing exhibitions, and since I arrived in Paris, I've been to so many, and I'm so happy that I got the chance to do it because it was amazing. I loved Azedine Alaya shows, I loved Martin Margiela, Les Années Hermès. So, you know, I personally, I didn't know that Martin Margiela worked for Hermes, you know, I was so shook in the 80s. So it was amazing. So you can check on my Instagram page, you'll see all exhibitions that I've been to. I've been to Azin and Alaya, Martin Margiela, Christian Dior. And of course, the last one that I went to was the Harper's Bazaar retrospective exhibition in Paris in Le Musée des Arts Décoratifs. And I loved this exhibition. It's literally a retrospective where you see, you know, the birth of the fashion magazine, which is the first fashion magazine that was created in the United States. And I love the legend they put, you know, the subtitle of the exhibition was a repository of fashion, pleasure, and instruction. So at the very, you know, origins, fashion magazines, it was pleasure, it was instruction. And that's very interesting because it paved the way for brands to do what we call brand content, which is, it depends, but it can be instructive. And this is what a lot of brands do now. They want to instruct, they want to educate their customers on their know-how, on, you know, they want to have more transparency with everything that they do, where it's made, you know, the atelier. They want to put faces on those people who make things and those people who are just artists and who can make beautiful objects and products. So that's also very interesting. It's like full circle. So yeah, it makes sense, I guess. And also I think, you know, fashion exhibitions, you need to understand that it's very difficult. I mean, it's very particular and peculiar for a luxury brand to communicate, because as a luxury brand, you don't want to communicate like a mass market brand. You know, you just don't do that. You just don't put your clothes in a catalog. That's just not the way it works. So fashion exhibitions, I think it's interesting for you guys to do it at least once, because these are the basics for communications for a luxury brand. You need to see how it works. It's all about storytelling. We're not here to sell a product, we're here to share experience first of the brand, but also to, you know, to showcase the DNA of the brand identity. It's all about the process, all about, you know, getting the universe of the brand. Fashion magazines and of course fashion weeks, I would say, are the pillars of fashion brand communication. If you're a luxury brand, you must have those three pillars. I mean, today, maybe tomorrow it will change, especially in this kind of very specific transitioning times where everything seems to be uncertain. We might migrate towards more flexibility and more digital stuff. But in the traditional landscape of fashion, these are the three pillars of fashion brand communications: PR events, so fashion weeks or exhibitions, and fashion magazines. Fashion magazines, I'm gonna show you. If you open Vogue magazine, the first thing you see, first of all, you don't even need to open it. It's just at the back cover, it's fashion campaign. If you open fashion campaigns everywhere, this is how you advertise when you're fashion luxury brand. You just, it's actually a very particular approach, because, you know, luxury brands, they really control their image. It's all about image, you know, and we select the press where we want to be visible. So of course, if you're a fashion luxury brand, you don't want to appear in, I don't know, whatever magazine. You just want to appear in the Vogue Paris magazine. You want to appear in the September issue. That's where you want to appear. It tells a lot about, you know, the reputation management and the brand image. And for the last part, you guys, these are the very key things that you guys asked me to share, was some reading materials. Of course, you know, I do believe that luxury, it's not only an industry. I really do believe that luxury is also a sort of science that we can study. That's the reason why we do have a master's degree in luxury brand management. You do have many levels to understand, to tackle luxury as a whole. I like to have a holistic approach. Who are those people who buy luxury items? And what is their motivation? What do they look into this? What does a luxury item bring to them? What makes the difference, you know? What's the difference that it's gonna bring into their lives? And these are questions, these are psychological, anthropological, societal questions that we need to understand. And also, you know, from a geopolitical point of view, luxury is more than ever a very crucial point, because you know, luxury for long years was based on, you know, the extraction of rare resources, but today we just don't have any. I mean, we're come to a point where those resources will be totally wasted and exploitable. You know, there will come a moment we'll have to shift towards new resources, new raw materials, but also to have an impact, a positive impact on the planet, and to really shift the habits, you know, the consumer's habits, and just still still bringing the dream and still bringing the fantasy that people need, because this is what luxury does, you know, it allows us to dream and to really strive for the best. But at the same time, you know, we've come to a point where it's too critical now to just turn a blind eye on the consequences, and that I'm not scared. I am just saying that for those who are coming, you need to be aware of that, and maybe you need also to be aware that you might have a big role to play on how we can change the mentalities and how we can educate people on alternative narratives. As I said, you do have some sociology, psychology, anthropology, history. These are things that you can get and tackle reading scientific research. So these are actually, like, you can read memoirs, you can read essays, papers from experts, from economists, business analysts. I like to read from philosophers, you know, because it's very interesting to get to the origins of luxury. So you need to understand the origins of luxury in our societies from an anthropological perspective. I do believe that this is key to get to, you know, surface level. You do also have to, if you want to, you don't have to, but you can get acquainted with technical terms and knowledge. Fashionpedia, the visual dictionary of fashion, and it's amazing. It's in English, and you literally have everything you need to know about the terms and the fashion language, the fashion lexicon. Everything is here, and I'm so blessed to have that. That was a gift. You know, I did an internship at Le Bon Marché in Paris, and my team, they're so nice. They were so nice with me. They gave me this as, you know, a departure gift, and I will cherish this one for my whole career, I guess. If you work as an intern, if you do internships, try to act smart and get away with those things that they give you during training sessions. You know, I worked for Louis Vuitton for 2 years, and I am so blessed. I got so many training sessions with them. You know, Louis Vuitton, to me, Louis Vuitton is my school. Like, they really taught me everything I need to know, basics wise, you know, and they taught me everything. And I remember during training sessions, we used to have those guides. These are so confidential information. I don't know if it's confidential, I don't know. But you see, it's all about the history of the brand. They tell you about, you know, the signatures, the savoir-faire, where everything is made, what was the inspiration, what's the story behind this product and this product, whatever. I mean, it's just amazing. This is the wardrobe by Louis Vuitton, and I will keep this, of course, because it's very precious. I got the same from Fendi. So I didn't work for Fendi, but I have a friend of mine who works for Fendi, and he knows how much I love this brand. So as a gift, he gave me this one. It's the same, it's the wardrobe, but this is for men. So this is only for, you know, the men's collection. I think it's interesting, you know, if you want to have this kind of 360-degree view on luxury, you should be able to hold conversation with a fashion expert, jewelry expert, wine and spirits expert. You should be able to be versatile. And of course, I am so sensitive to fashion photography. I'm obsessed. Wow. And I'm obsessed with just seeing those covers and fashion photography. Fashion photography is something on its own to me, you know. I'm obsessed, and I do have my reviews and my reporters magazines. Jean-Paul Goude, my favorite fashion photographer, with Karl Lagerfeld, Steven Meisel, Patrick de Marchelier, Hugo Comte from The Last Generation. I don't know, it's very important to be aware of that as well, because that's part of culture. You know, in the beginning we were talking about references. These are references, and this is my reference. When I go to a job interview, if they ask me who is my favorite fashion photographer, Jean-Paul Goude is, because I do get his work very well. I love the way he works. I love the craftsmanship dimension that he puts into his work, you know. It's just amazing. He worked with the greatest. He worked with Naomi Campbell, Grace Jones, the mother of his son, Lady Gaga, Michael Jackson, Rihanna recently. You know, I am just obsessed. And he also, I don't know if you know the Galeries Lafayette department stores in France, but he's also the one who used to do the advertising campaign for Galeries Lafayette for the holidays or something. And I even believe he worked with H&M. I'm not sure, this we need to confirm. Fashion icon. This is an iconic picture. If you want to work in the fashion industry, you should know this. These are references. Of course, Vogue magazines. So I'm not telling you guys because I am not sponsored. I was not sponsored by Vogue magazine to say that. But I mean, I guess it's a reference, you know? It is what it is, it's a reference. So I do have Vogue for men, Vogue men, Vogue ladies, Glamour magazine, Love magazine, which is great because it's great content, it's very alternative content, and it's very dense, you see. This is quite heavy. Vogue Paris, which I'm not very happy with because I do believe that they're stuck in their mentality. They don't take risk as much as I would like them to. Elle magazine. Oh, this is Jeff Koons, a photography review again, you know. I love Jeff Koons, yeah, contemporary artist. Thank you so much guys for keeping up with me and watching this video. This video was made for you guys. You guys asked me to share those tips and those materials with you. I hope it was clear, and I hope that it will motivate you guys to just simply keep up with luxury culture, and maybe makes you want to come in a big city like Paris to have the advantage to play with what we have in here and to really dive into the fashion world. So do not hesitate, as usual, to ask questions in the comment section. And of course, you know, I'm so reactive. Every time you guys ask me questions, I love to respond. I love to reply to you. Thank you also for those who share their stories. I mean, you guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for supporting. And I'm looking forward to the next content. I'm looking forward. You guys ask me, what do you need? What do you want from me? And I'll try my best to deliver.